Hi, I'm Bill Lynn. I'm the Vice President of Heritage Arsenal, and to mark the 75th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day, May 8th, we thought we'd shoot a video that really talked about a population of service members in which May 8th was particularly important, the prisoners of war. So in the building here we have some prisoner of war attributed artifacts that we want to talk about. So if you were a prisoner of war during the Second World War and were a prisoner of the Germans, you would have been issued a dog tag like this. The German dog tags were oval, and for prisoners of war they took on this shape of a rectangle, and actually has the camp in which you would have been interned and then your prisoner of war number, and we have a couple of examples here. There's also a prisoner of war postcard which would have been censored and screened in your communications, which would have been quite infrequently between you and your loved ones. We have actually the grouping of a prisoner of war who had, unfortunately, the situation to be a prisoner in our first combat action of U.S. soldiers in ground combat. Ed Furru of Company B, 1st Ranger Battalion, participated in the raid at Dieppe, France, which became a precursor to the Normandy invasion 2 years later, but unfortunately was one of the 12 who got ashore, 6 of whom were wounded or killed. He actually was wounded on the beach, captured by the Germans, and spent from August 19th, 1942 until VE Day, May 8th, as a prisoner of war. This is Ed's shirt. You can see all the overseas service stripes on his sleeve, each one representing 6 months overseas. Of course, when I asked him about that, he said, "Where could I go?" Right? So, hence, he accumulated a considerable amount of time overseas. As well, we have his Purple Heart and the piece of shrapnel that was taken out of him by the Germans after the Dieppe raid. And what's interesting about this is he had spent so much time as a prisoner, they elected to actually engrave his Purple Heart, though he had survived the action, which is actually quite rare. So on the reverse side is actually Ed Furru's name engraved. So Ed Furru spent over 2.5 years as a prisoner of war, and to him, May 8th, 1945 took on a particular significance as it spelled liberation and freedom for him for the rest of his life. And so on May 8th, 1945, the war ended in Europe, though the fighting in Japan and the Pacific Theater continued. We wanted to mark this momentous occasion 75 years later.